Hello and welcome to Uzreport World News. I'm Barno Nazarzoda. The Ministry of Health of Uzbekistan has reported that the number of cases of COVID-19 has risen to 10. Several family members of the first patient who arrived from Paris on March 11 have also tested positive. The virus was also detected in an Uzbek national who arrived from Istanbul on March 15. His spouse and another passenger who flew on the same plane have also been diagnosed with coronavirus today. The first cases were reported on March 15th, resulting in a countrywide quarantine starting on March 16. A list has been compiled of all those who had come into contact with the current infected patients, and all of them are kept under close monitoring, Uzbek Ministry of Health informed. According to Uztekstilprom, the governing body of the textile sector in Uzbekistan, enterprises in the country are ready to increase their production capacities to meet the demand for medical masks.
Scores of private manufacturing companies have been established since the start of January this year. They, along with already existing companies, have seen a need and are working tirelessly to fill it with expanded production of medical masks. Even clothing factories in various regions of the country have taken the opportunity to produce medical masks made completely from local raw materials. The majority of sewing workshops have shifted to mask production. As of the start of March, the combined production capacity of all the enterprises exceeded 500,000 masks per day, with a prospect of expanding to 1 million pieces per day. Pharmacy chains and health services across the country have sufficient stocks of medical masks and a shortage is not expected. Industry and local authorities are taking actions to further increase the uninterrupted production of medical masks and established an easy flow of distribution to the relevant channels.
Supermarkets and bazaars will operate as usual during this 2-week virus quarantine. All shops and markets will continue to be stocked with all necessary food and household products. There will be no uninterrupted supply of goods and their prices should be little to no change. Head of the State Tax Committee, Behzod Musayev, has asked citizens to remain calm and refrain from buying in bulk, as there is no reason to panic.
All markets and shops are being closely monitored to make sure that supplies and prices remain the same. The head of the State Tax Committee has said that it is a time for people to unite and urged businesses to continue as normal without creating an artificial deficit or unnecessary price hikes. Uzbekistan will have no problems providing itself with food products, given the agricultural orientation of the economy, he said. To the people who fell into a panic, I want to say that the situation in Tashkent and regional markets is under government's control. There are rumors that the bazaars will be closed. No, the closure of any market, retail outlets, public catering enterprises will not be allowed. We have abundant markets and there are enough products. Major supermarket chains executives have also assured the public that they will operate as before and have sufficient supplies of products.
On March 16, Uzbekistan sent humanitarian aid to Iran by plane. The country is currently the third most affected in the world after China and Italy. This was Uzbekistan's third cargo of humanitarian aid since the start of the global outbreak. The first one was in February, being delivered to Beijing, and the second one was sent to the city of Urumqi in early March. Monday's 7-ton cargo consisted of sanitary masks, overalls and gloves.
This humanitarian aid includes protective equipment for coronavirus, disposable masks, overalls, gloves. I must say that the humanitarian aid will be accompanied by 2 doctors of the Ministry of Emergencies, who upon arrival will be placed in a 2-week quarantine. The Iranian ambassador to Uzbekistan was present at the takeoff of the cargo. As you know, common troubles and problems bring people together, and Uzbekistan was among the first countries to help us, and we will never forget that. On behalf of the government and people of Iran, I want to express my sincere gratitude.
According to WHO, every year 1 in every 10 births occur before 34 weeks. Newborns with the birth weight of less than 15,000 grams are considered to have extremely low birth weight. Premature babies require a lot of attention, special medical care, incubators, and proper clothing work together to ensure their survival. The necessary medical care and equipment are readily available. However, finding the appropriate clothing is an issue. To help battle this issue, several organizations have been established in Tashkent and regions to knit clothing for kids. One of those is 28 Loops. 28 Loops, a volunteer-run club, has for the past 3 years brought together hundreds of people of different ages and professions with one purpose: knit clothes. Some of them help by donating money. Some of them knit and anonymously leave the pieces with the seller, while others conduct training camps for groups to meet and knit together in a light and happy atmosphere. We meet regularly twice a month on Saturdays. We have members who work on Saturdays as well. There are teachers and doctors. We organize Sunday meetings for such people. The training camp is where participants knit woolen clothing and octopus toys for premature newborns. So how did this project come to? The idea is not mine. 3 years ago, I came across a photo of small-sized knitted things on someone's Instagram page. I got interested and contacted this lady. It turned out that she was a member of a similar club in Kazakhstan. I got very enthusiastic about this idea. According to Elena, it takes 3 days to create one care package. Once the knitting is complete, it is then sterilized with a baby-safe detergent, packaged and sealed. The final step is being transported to their new tiny owners. The organization distributes their packages not only in Tashkent, but all over the country. There are also separate branches set up in various districts. In Chirchik, for example, there are 5-6 people who knit these baby kits. Regions outside of Tashkent need to wait for deliveries as there are currently no branches set up there. The reason being a lack of raw materials. Even in Tashkent, it can be difficult to find wool for knitting, but in the regions it is impossible. Uzreport was lucky enough to be able to observe the process from knitting the kits to transporting them to their new homes. We had the opportunity to see the kits in use in the Republican Perinatal Center. There is an entire floor dedicated to premature babies. All the rooms are equipped with the necessary medical equipment. Incubators, humidifiers, breathing apparatus, etc. are all in the place to give these babies a fighting chance. In the incubator, a knitted blanket is arranged in a nest-like shape to provide support for the baby as he would have it in the womb. First of all, when a premature baby is born, we need to place it in an environment just like the natural womb, a warm, quiet, dark and closed space. It is important for the preterm infants to feel comfortable and develop in the environment similar to biological conditions. All of the knitted items are made from wool. There are more benefits than simply keeping the child warm. Wool improves blood flow, which means that all other organs will also work well. It irritates the skin and makes the body to move, and it stimulates its breathing, as respiratory drive is weak in most of the preterm infants, so wool clothing helps them to survive. Apart from the clothes knitted for the children, there are also the octopus toys. They have many uses and benefits. They can be used to soothe the baby by keeping the mother's scent. The mother must hold the toy to her chest for 2 hours and allow their scent to transfer to the toy, then it is placed in the incubator with the baby. The tentacles of the toy also serve a purpose. They help to develop fine motor skills and prevent the child from pulling the cords from medical monitoring equipment attached to themselves. 28 Loops makes and distributes all these kits free of charge, and every day their volunteer base is increasing despite the delicate and demanding work.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has doubled down and insisted that the Olympics will go ahead as scheduled, kicking off July 24. On Tuesday, he said that group of 7 leaders had agreed to support a, quote, complete Olympic Games, referring to the Games being held with spectators present. But when asked if the group had discussed postponing the Games due to the coronavirus, Abe sidestepped.
In regards to the Olympics, we aim to hold the Tokyo Games and Paralympics in a complete way, as proof that mankind can defeat the new coronavirus. And I've received support from the G7.
Meanwhile, the head of the French Olympic Committee said on Monday that the pandemic must have reached its peak and be on the wane by the end of May for the Tokyo Olympics to be staged as scheduled. His comments come as concerns mount about whether the Games can proceed, as the virus has brought businesses and social activities in many countries to a standstill. This year's Olympics have cost the country at least $12 billion in preparations, and attracted more than $3 billion in domestic sponsorships. But a domestic survey published on Monday showed almost 70% of Japanese polled believed the Games should be postponed. The World Health Organization has confirmed the epicenter of the virus is now in Europe, where sports competitions have come to a halt, hampering athletes' preparations.
Partout sur le territoire français. French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday ordered stringent restrictions on people's movement to slow the spread of the coronavirus and said the army would be drafted in to help move the sick to hospitals.
I decided to further reinforce the measures to reduce our movement and our contacts to strictly necessary ones. Starting tomorrow at noon and for at least 15 days, our movement would be extremely limited.
Nos déplacements seront très fortement réduits.
France had already shut down restaurants and bars, closed schools, and put ski resorts off limits, but Macron said measures unprecedented in peacetime were needed as the number of infected people doubled every 3 days and deaths climbed higher.
Cet effort que je vous demande,
These efforts that I am asking of you, I know they're unprecedented, but the circumstances demand it. We are at war, in a health war. We're not up against another army or another nation, but the enemy is right there, invisible, untouchable, and it is advancing.
The French Interior Minister said some 100,000 police will be deployed to enforce the lockdown.
South Korea's education ministry announced on Tuesday that the resumption of classes would be further postponed for 2 more weeks for all schools across the country, citing concerns about infections in smaller clusters. By delaying the school year even further, we wish to prevent further infection in local communities and prepare for a stable start of the academic year with a thorough prevention system, Education Minister said during a news conference in Seoul. The new semester of classes would be further delayed till April 6. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported 84 new coronavirus cases as of Tuesday, marking a 3rd day in a row that the country has reported fewer than 100 new infections, raising hopes that Asia's largest outbreak outside China may be easing. But authorities renewed warnings against smaller clusters that continue to emerge, especially in the greater Seoul area.
Universal Pictures says they'll release some of their new movies early on digital, the same day that they premiere in theaters around the globe. The upcoming Trolls sequel from DreamWorks will be ready to stream April 10th, the same day it hits the big screen. The Invisible Man and Emma, all still in their theatrical runs, will be available for on-demand streaming by Friday. NBC Universal's announcement completely upends traditional movie releases. Films are usually kept exclusively in theaters for around 90 days before being released to other platforms. But the coronavirus has put Hollywood in uncharted territory. Last weekend's box office was the worst in over 2 decades. Only one movie, Disney Pixar's Onward, made more than $10 million over the weekend. That's partly because of audiences staying home, and theater chains like AMC and Regal are also cutting capacity in some auditoriums by half to avoid crowding. And on Sunday night, the mayors of New York and Los Angeles ordered all movie theaters to close due to the virus outbreak. According to NBC Universal CEO Jeff Shell, the company wanted to provide a, quote, accessible and affordable way to view new films, rather than delaying or releasing them into a challenged film landscape. Universal's move raises questions about how other studios may act as the outbreak drags on. Disney has already moved to release Frozen 2 and the latest Star Wars movie early on its streaming service Disney+. Most major movies over the next few months have been removed from release calendars, including Disney's Mulan, Paramount's A Quiet Place Part 2, and the next James Bond movie. So even if theaters keep their doors open, there will be fewer big-name studio films to draw in an audience.
And this was our last report for today. Goodbye.